What's up, guys? We're here with Dave. Dave, I thought Dave only watched on Instagram, but apparently he watches on YouTube too. Yeah. Dave, tell them what they're supposed to do on the YouTube channel.
Can you like, share, and subscribe? Show some love for the Happy Pill Project.
Is that I would love to get two shins behind one of his shins, and that gives me this really great distinctive advantage. So I'd like to continue to go through this and mix this up. And then how I left off, we had gone through getting through this position and advancing it, and how I left off was explaining this whole story about this. These feet are dangling there, you gotta grab them. You know, you gotta dominate those feet. And then this is how I kind of left off, not kind of, this is what I really did. I told you to touch this foot, and I told you to flare and have a couple of goals at this point, is that we wanted to go forward with our head, right? We never wanted to back out. My knee, I would love to make this wedge in here. It's not the end of the world if you don't. Let's say hypothetically I didn't. Let's say I go like this, right? And now he brings this guy high. I can, the reason I stopped him a second ago, no, you stay down for a second. I just stopped him because he went like this. He's giving me 2 behind 1. Like, that's not kind of real, because if he does this, then I just move forward and I take his leg and I'm 2 behind 1. So that's not really real. What I meant to say was that if I flare like this and you couldn't land 2 behind 1, I'm landing 1 in, 1 out, or I'm landing half guard. Like, so I just advanced the division in some manner, right? Because my end goal is to keep improving the position I'm in. So my head position is going to be over there, my hips are going to be over here. So regardless, you're advancing. Now I want to point out something the other day, is that try to absorb. And I know, like, what ends up happening a lot of times is you're so worried about like your rounds and winning and stuff like that. That's not the person that gets better. Like, over time, people say to me, they'll go, they haven't rolled with Martin or Zeke in a while. And it happened the other day. Some guys that came up with them comes in, and he had the, I don't know if he's fortunate or unfortunate, but he was on the receiving end of a really bad, I don't know if you want to call it a can of whip ass, but that's what it really was, right? And they get better repeatedly, and I see it with these two all the time, and others also, is that I show them something, and literally they just keep trying to do it. They just keep trying to do it. They just keep, and that's the person that keeps getting better. Reason I bring this up is that this is what I see. On Friday, I can't tell you how many people, like the person will start like this, and the feet are here, and they'll go, and it's like, wow, really? Like, you just learned that. Like, you just, I mean, like, and you don't want to implement it? Yeah, I know, because everything that you were doing through the whole drill and trying to absorb, like, you're so worried about something else. And that's not really what this is about. Like, I know the game revolves around fighting. It has nothing to do with fighting for me. It has 0 to do. And you want to sit there and we want to talk about fighting? I know it's street fighting, MMA fighting, BJJ fighting. You tell me. We can have a discussion forever on it. I know all the differences between it. I've become a student of this game. So it has nothing to do. What it has to do with is like this meditation and like really diving into it and like learning it and like really absorbing it and it becoming part of your fabric of who you are. It's like nothing to do with fighting. Not that this guy's gonna pick on people and try to go start fights. So try to absorb it. Like, try to like, okay, I'm gonna really try this. But I see the opposite happening for so many, and that's not really, I'm not trying to beat you up. It's like, I really care that you improve, okay? So really try. Now let's get started, right? We're like this, right? And the feet are apart, and they're not touching me. So I said, this is how we left off. I'm going to try to do a couple of things. Make contact here. And I just told you if it doesn't happen, who cares? Because I'm going to advance my position to a better one. Okay. I also told you I don't want your head going backwards. So if you're flaring 2 times, this is what I see happen a lot. People will flare, then move their head forward. Or they'll backward because I want to get my position in front of this. I don't really want to get into Z guard. Okay. So when I go flaring, the moment, regardless, we're going to keep Ethan down so everybody in the room could see. The moment I touch these feet, or 1 foot actually, I also pointed out, we're not grabbing ankles, okay? We're either gonna grab fabric on a gi pant or we're going to pin his foot on the mat. but I want to hold his foot because I want to let this articulate in some manner that he's kicking away. If I'm holding here, he's gonna pummel this out in 2 seconds. I'm gonna lose the grip. I also explain, I know some people laugh, but some people got cankles. And if you don't understand, one time when someone said that, I went, what the hell's a cankle? It's a mixture of an ankle and a calf, right? They're so big like this, you can't grab them. So sometimes you can't, right? So I'm going to try to pin this foot. Now I just explained about the head position. My first reaction on this position is the moment I touch this foot, my head comes forward. I flare the hip at one time. So I'm never backing out, okay, ever, okay? I also had a goal of my head being on this. If this is the division, and we talked about the division happening, whether it be half guard or 2 behind 1, my hips are coming this way. So I'd love for my line on this if you can. As you get better at it, you're going to be very specific in how you do this. My head's on that side. So if you see the spinal cord line, my head's on that side. I move forward right away because I don't know how this is going to play out. So I'm going to ask you now to do 2 pivots. We were doing this one, so I'm going to ask you to do that one. Almost everybody was here the other day. I grab this foot. I pay attention to my head. My head's driving forward. I want to win head battle. I don't want to be on this side because that's how guillotines happen, head and hip on the same side. So I also want to use my head as a functional tool to push him supine. So if he was sitting up, I would be here pushing him hard to hit him down because I may not even drop the 2 behind 1. If I've hit him so hard, I'm just going to finish the pass. That's what usually happens, right? If the guy's just starting out as BJJ. But I'm going to ask you to do something, right? And now you're starting to read the reaction the moment it happens. So we were imagining that we just did this. We went like this. And the moment I do this, sit up for a second. The moment I do this, he's going to drop like this to stop this. So I'm going to ask you to learn how to pivot on both knees, okay? So the moment I land like this, all I'm doing is dropping my knee and pivoting the other way. So this is how you would see it. We're going to imagine that the moment I go like this, Ethan's going to go that way. So I'm just going to drop my knee and pivot the other way. So this is the same exact pivot. Where are we going to? Behind 1. I drive forward and I finish. So I'm learning how to pivot left and right. And if you get good at it, right, in the beginning, this is what happens with BJ. It even happens at the highest level. Moves are so ridiculously telegraphed. But in boxing, right, they call it the sweet science, a little bit more advanced now. And you see a guy faint, right, and he's kind of going like, And what's he doing? He's setting something up. He's looking at reactions. That's what you're doing, right? So you're learning how to just feint him, right? You're going like that. And now he looks at me like this. I go, okay. And now he goes this way, right? Okay, there we go on the pass. I'm learning how to flip my knees and I'm just going left and right. Only thing I own is this foot. And I'm looking for, see, where you want to overcommit. You want to go overcommit in this way? But now, what ends up happening in the beginning, you're trying to do one move, right? You're so linear in your thought process. And you want to go, I'm trying to get through this brick wall that's about this big. And he's all defensive and he's driving and pushing. It's not there. Why don't we redirect, right? The Colabate, I didn't see his matches yet. I'm assuming he must have dominated because he paid a tribute to Guy Mendez, which is beautiful, that he called him his Phil Jackson to Michael Jordan. It was beautiful that he did that. Young man, spectacular. I think he's the next superstar of the sport on a different level. The reason I bring them up is they're redirecting their movements, left, right, knee drops, backstepping. So I want to so you start understanding, it's like, whatever you want to go, buddy. You want to go left, you go left, I go right. You want to come back right, I go left. I'm not going into any wall. I'm going around the wall. I'm going to go around the wall, okay? So you're starting to learn how to pivot left and right, okay? You can keep him down and you don't worry about him. You're like this. You went left, you should be right here, lined up, because potentially, we said, on Saturday, I was explaining this, potentially he may try to drop this shield. Okay, so I'm back again this way. Where am I here? Maybe he comes up and I go, I'm back again this way, right? So I'm learning how to drop my knee and flare, okay? So I'm gonna ask you now, we're gonna do 2 before we add the 3rd on the knee shield dropping. So we're like this. You should be doing this. So don't let me see this again. You guys that make no contact and you clap hands and you go, I'm like, oh God. And a dear friend, I don't know if he's here right now because I kind of said something to him afterwards and I hope he absorbs it. We're friends outside of here. And he was the first one I saw doing it. It was like, we're not absorbing. We're doing everything wrong. And then, come up for 1 second. We don't rise above. This is just something else. I'm going to go like this. Like, I don't know. Our fight's right here, right? Why am I going to go leave his feet? I always wanted to win head battle. Let's go something else. Once we're like this, in standing, you match his head height, right? Why would I go like this? And I'm starting to come up, and he's a good player. He's going to shoot underneath me in 2 seconds, and I'm going to leave these armpits open. Fundamentally, my armpits are closed. I'm playing T-Rex. You don't go, remember, a person that controls these controls the pocket, controls the game. So why would I ever flare these out? Okay, that never happens. I am glued to my lats, and I'm playing like this. And I'm not going to rise my head height higher that you, even if you couldn't get in here, you know what ends up happening? They end up grabbing right behind the hamstring. And if you like, you've been eating a couple of donuts and stuff, they'll go biting onto your obliques over here. And you want to call them love handles, you call them whatever you want. But they go biting on, and now they pull you in, and you're like this. And now you opened up the pockets. And now I'm about to go airborne. I'm going to get reversed. I'm going to spin underneath me. They're going to attack my leg. Everything went south. Man that controls now, we go backwards on the teaching, right? What did I want to do? I want to use my head as a tool. In a real fight, I want to be able to open you up where I'm controlling the head position so that I can move my hands and hold you down. That's really what I want to do in a real fight. So if I'm like this and I'm matching head heights and I'm like this, boom, I'm starting to win head height, right? And as I'm coming through, I'm landing 2 behind 1. The other day, something, I just want to explain something to you. Sometimes when you land 2 behind 1, the other day I said to you, you're going to take this hand and beat this thigh, and you go like this, right? Sometimes you're not going to be able to get over this thigh, and that's not the end of the world. As I'm coming through, my hand comes through the middle. So the only thing different on it, I don't get too complicated, but I do want to explain this. If my hand comes through the middle, then it allows me to put my hand on your sternum. Only thing different is I don't need to step over this knee. I can take my hand and flip my feet high and now come back at this angle. So it's a different sequence right after. Totally different sequence in how I'm going to play you, because now I've won position on your hip line that I can feel you come out if you decide. And if you shrimp on me too hard, I'm going to drop this into the punch the pocket, right? So I know it's a little bit analogy sometimes. If you haven't downloaded her thing, you're nuts. What she has done with that thing, and people are asking me from all over the world, like literally, if you haven't downloaded her thing with her hoppy pill, like glossary of terms, and you can go back, try to download it and try to look at it. It's all free. I touch this foot, I move forward, and I'm like this, right? So the first one I said, drop knee over knee. I'm in front. I crouch his backside. I flip. I take side control. Second one, right? I'm like this. I come forward. He turns. I drop knee and I spin the other way. All I'm doing is same exact position we were in. I'm just coming forward. I take side control, and here I go. Okay? 1 and 2, 1 and 2. But I'm going to ask you. You can't pick. So I know you're thinking you're going to what? I don't know what foot's going to go forward. Is it this foot? Maybe he likes sitting like this. Maybe next time he sits like this. Maybe he sits like, I have no idea. So you got to do both sides, right? I explained this the other day. Sometimes somebody will think they're going to impress somebody by doing it really fast when they've never done it before. And it looks like crap, and honestly, looks like crap. You're never going to absorb it. It has so many technical things. I don't even want to look at it. And any really world champion high-level guy looks at it and goes, ugh, like disgusting, right? Slow and perfect becomes fast and lethal, right? Slow and perfect becomes fast and lethal. You cannot cheat the grind. Doesn't happen like that. You don't go from crawling to running. You go from crawling to standing to start walking to skipping to running. it mirrors life, mirrors life. So don't go thinking that you're going to speed this up. It's just going to look like a slop fest, and you're never going to absorb anything. Let's drill perfect. Let's do it, guys. Feed the beginner, or the person with a little bit less experience, what they should do at this point, and we're going to keep it to one side, and then we'll add all the other stuff, right? I'm like this, and I just turned like this, and now he's not doing anything with this, and you feel that he's probably kind of kicked his leg out, or he's 6'4", and this kneecap's like this, and you're going, all I have was this, and if he's 6'4", how am I going to close that gap to get over there? And he's doing everything he can to slide me down and put this leg back between us. And he's laid down. And you're like this. And I'm going, damn, I'm like really far away. And by the time I drop this knee comes in, he pushes me away. And I go, damn, that didn't work out too well. We're going to make sure that thing works out well. We're like this. I go like this. I'm going to take this secondary leg. And what ends up happening is this leg comes like this, because a good knee elbow escaper guy is going to do this and try to bring this guy down and reconnect to this elbow. They're not going to reconnect up here because I'm going to float them too easy, right? They're not going to do that. They're trying their best. If they've been taught really well, fundamentally, they're trying to put this thing back. That's how the thing comes down. I'm like this. So I scoop this up and I come forward. And now I'm like this, where either I'm going to take this leg, and if I don't, it allows me now, right? This is how this is going to look. He's got these big frames, and he's over here, and I'm going, I want to go forward. I can't do anything with these arms. I can't go bending them on him like this. So now I just flare this foot out, and I re-square, and now I'm like this. And now I could play this a bunch of different ways. I can either drop this knee aggressively and backstep it and take this top quadrant. Could do that if I want, right? I'm like this. And then if I flare this foot out and re-square this, and now I see the opportunity to bring you forward, and I get you supine again. These arms, I don't really care where they are anymore, but I'm not going to flip until I push you supine or close to it. Because once I come here, you're going to turn again, and I got to beat this before you make the turn. So I'm not going to go switching high unless I push him back supine. So I'm playing two positions at the same time, reading how your hips come out. So for the advanced player. Okay, so I'm like this, and you made the mistake of leaving that thing out, and all I'm dealing with is strength and size and all these things that you are. You're 5 or 10 inches longer than me. You don't all. I get it. I'm gonna try to beat you with skill. I'm gonna try to beat you with muscle. And the beauty of BJJ, when it's done right, it's like same old story. Like, oh my God, invisible jiu-jitsu is where Hickson played, right? I'm like this. I'm like this. Pushing me away, and he's trying to connect these knees, right? So I bring this guy up, right? And now we're like this. As I get here, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to try to pick this leg up like this, okay? I'm going to flare this foot outwards and flare the kneecap out. And now I'm like this. Super smooth. Never raised my hips. Stayed super connected to him, right? If you want to see this again, back leg, heel comes out, knee comes up, right? Never left him. So I didn't do this. I didn't try to pick this foot up. I know it needs to get here. I didn't try to pick this foot up, because if I go like this, he's going to push me away, and now I'm going to get knocked backwards. I am not going to lose this grip. So I'm here like this. I just came up. I flare the foot out, I flare the kneecap out. When we're here, okay, this is where we're going to be right now, and I'll recap it again. I'm like this. I have multiple options. Can take this foot if I want, but I'm not going to. I'm coming up there. I want to put you to sleep. I don't want to go sitting back on concrete. Multiple things on a street fight of what I don't want to do. Or MMA fight, many things. Maybe BJJ, not in my rule set to do a heel hook. A lot of different variations, right? I'm like this. So I'm going to ask you to drive him back so he's supine like this. Because now, as we land, my hands were here. They were on him. All I'm going to do is switch my feet, where this foot is going to be right here, and the back foot's going to be right here. So I'm coming back at this quadrant to reattack this quadrant depending on how you turn. So I'm like this at this point. I was here, right? I flared the foot, I flared the kneecap up. I pushed hard. He's almost supine. I turned to top quadrant. I collapse on the arm, okay? For the person that's a little bit more athletic or has done it a bunch of times, Saeed has a beautiful backstep. Barnes developing a beautiful backstep. Sasha's now developing. There's a lot of people doing it. They're developing really great backsteps, right? So I never raised my hips, right? I was like this. I touched, I flared, I drove, I encountered big frames and massive man. I'm going, okay, knee comes up. I do not raise up. I flare my foot out. I rail my kneecap up. I'm like this now, okay? I'm pushing away. Now we're talking about the other person. And I feel you starting to take this hip out. I drop my knee and I backstep. And now I come right back in. What's the big deal? Like, let me just talk about this. You think I'm sitting bad? I think I'm sitting perfect, okay? And real fighting, I'm gonna pull this elbow out, and now you're gonna eat these knees nonstop, right? Maybe. BJJ, you're coming up, and I'm going, okay, there goes my Darces, there go my guillotines, okay? If you're so late on your turn, because potentially you are, because I've created a physical wall here that you're struggling to turn, but I can't hold that wall forever because I don't control the hips. So the hips are gonna swivel hard on me and you're gonna come up. But when I first landed, I was like this. So it's easy for me to take my back leg out. This is what I'd like to see. I don't want this. I don't want you to rise back up. I don't want you to take this position and just go like this, because then he's gonna finish the move. I'm pushing into him. Only thing that's coming out is this leg. It comes to this side of the head. As I've captured this side of the head, now I attack. Main reason being is I gotta be prepared if I'm losing him on the position. So when I first backstep, I was like this, right? And I don't come up. I don't reposition my knees to the spot they want. I take one leg out and it clears the back of the skull because I have to be ready to follow you wherever you go. So if I'm like this, back leg comes out, and if for some reason Nathan makes this turn, I'm here back on the back side before you ever get to the other side, right? So I was perfectly set on to spin on this kneecap. I can come right back to the head and arm, and if you really wanted to fight, you're gonna eat those knees. You're not going anywhere. I'm gonna make sure that you go out on these knees. Those knees, you don't see them in the UFC because they're not allowed. Alan Goes, I never saw Alan Goes fight again after that, those knees from Pride. If you ever saw that fight, he knows. Never saw him fight ever again. Those knees are so vicious to the top of the skull. You put a man out, you'll kill him. So, one more time. You're here. We're not going that way now. We're going to stay this way. I told you two different variations. You went like this. You encountered massive hands. He's doing knee elbow escaping. I bring my knee up through the center. I would love to at this point. I don't rise my hips up, right? My knees are capsulated like this. Foot comes out, kneecap comes up. Now I start pushing, see if I can get him supine. The moment I get him supine, now my hands were always here. I transfer. Now I come right back into the arm. I'm like this, back again. I'm trying to drive him supine. He doesn't want to stop shrimping on me. I can't control this leg. So I know the hips are going to keep coming out on me, okay? Come back 1 second. Inexperienced players, all they're going to do is push with this knee. And now you're just going to clear it. So I just wanted to point that out to you. That's an experienced player. Experienced player is going to take the hips out, right? But come back again. When I say an experienced player, 99% will push this leg back. Unfortunately, that's the truth. They'll push this leg back. I just clear it, now I come back, right? High-level player will fight like crazy because he knows this is his recovery leg. Somehow has to get it between us again. He's stuck here, so he's got to fight for this guy. So I'm like this, and he's shrimping and shrimping. Knee drops, I backstep, right? I don't go anywhere. I create a physical barrier in front of this deltoid because all I cared about was getting this leg to that side of the skull. I would prefer not to be north-south because I'd rather be on the backside choking you out later. So I'm like this. I clear the bottom leg, take it to this side. If I really want to hold you, I have the elbow. Now I capture. Let's see if we can do this. Let's rock. Ty, can you go in there and do it? And you can see it from the top. He's going to do everything really slow. He's going to take the turn, coming like this, right? Pick it, wrong leg up. Stay right there for me. This is what, let me in there for a second, actually. Let me in there. You're like this. You just made this turn, and you're like this, right? Remember in the very beginning, I was telling you about fighting for this head position. I see people doing this. Lottie, this is directed towards Lottie also, because we just went through this, but I want to share it with everybody. I've decided to come like this. Why did I see you going like this? Or bringing this arm, because you think you're going to hold this thing forever, it's behind you. And now he's gonna kick this guy out and he's gonna throw it on my face. So why would I lift my head up? I'm like this. I'm like this. In the very beginning, things didn't change. I flared the hip up. I never raised my hips. I'm in a fight. My head was here the whole time. I also explained this to Danny and Saka. They're really great training partners together. I don't want to show him anything. If every time I walked across the ring, I went like this, you don't think he's going to know I'm throwing a right hand? That's what I telegraph every single time. I shouldn't move my hips and my head, and my leg should move by itself. I'm like this at this point. I'm going, you're not putting this thing in front of me. I'm like this. I didn't move, right? I'm like this. And now I'm doing everything I can so this hand doesn't come in. And now I take my feet and I turn them around. But maybe I'm not. And now Danny shrimps hard on me. And I'm here, right? And now as we landed, right, I'm like this, caring about one thing. I understand this hand position and what potentially could happen here, what can happen here, what can happen with everything. This hand might fight to come through, but the reason I'm bringing this up, my head was like this, right? And I just went backwards. My hand was some here, it doesn't matter where it is. Potentially I might be able to slide under here, and now I may be able to come back, but we're just saying that I'm laid all down there, and he's 6'4", and that hip is sitting out there, and I'm 5'8", and I'm like, forget about that shit. Right? I'm like this. And he's turning and turning. And now this cleared to the other side of the ear. So this leg still had the same function. As he's clearing to the other side of the ear, I'm pulling this thing out, and now I'm going into my darces, my guillotine, but I'm like this. And I'm fighting like crazy, then I'm going, I'm not letting you go. I'm pushing because I know that whatever my hand is, I don't even care where this hand is right now. I'm like this at this point. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure you don't take this and come like this, because I would love to get to your backside. I'm like this. So the only thing I cared about was holding this position. I slide this leg out, now he's on the other side. Am I not still here? And I see people doing this. They're taking this leg out and they're going, you just relinquished that position. Now you're here. This arm came through, and now his shoulder roll. But you literally. Okay, so open up your door and let the thief come in, and then you're gonna try to get him out once he's sitting in your kitchen eating your breakfast. Like, you fight and stay here, man. Don't go out and leave. You have one function with the leg. You're like this, and then what's the big deal? You're like this, fighting for position, and you're not letting him up. And now I took this leg out and I cleared it to this side. And now as he's coming up, I'm going, okay, I got this, right? Or if I miss it, am I not here already coming back again? Well, you're not letting you go. I'm just going to catch you in the next turn, and the next turn, the next turn. This will wear you out, right? So just put that in your head. It's on there, right? And then try to remember those things. I said earlier, I've been here a long time. And man, unfortunately, I have a friend, 20 years. And I go, man, you roll like the day you came in, right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but that's what happens, right? So try to be as detailed as the room matters. And what I said earlier, we push each other, okay? So we got about a minute before we go live. You want to grab water, caffeine, anything you want. Let's do it.